So greetings, beloveds, and to those of you joining us online, welcome to Unity of Tempe. I'm so glad that you're watching online, and I do hope that you will come and be with us in person very soon, because you only see a little bit of our service and you miss out on really the connection and the friendships and the fellowship. And so come be with us in person very soon. So today we've arrived at the last beatitude in our series Blessed, in which we've been exploring the Beatitudes from the Sermon on the Mount. And if you've missed any of this series and you'd like to catch up, or if you'd like to just watch it again, you can go to our website, unityoftempe.org, or our YouTube channel. So now for the 8th Beatitude. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, I find this beatitude another of the more challenging ones. Last week was not as challenging. This one is a more challenging. So we're going to begin our metaphysical exploration of this beatitude by breaking it down. First, who are the blessed in this beatitude? Yes, and they're persecuted because of what? Because of righteousness. So what does persecuted mean? Well, it means to be subject to hostility, persistent harassment, and ill treatment, especially because of race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or political beliefs. It often relates to sustained and systemic forms of oppression and mistreatment. Now let's move on to the word righteousness. We have actually encountered this word before in our journey of the Beatitudes, and it was in actually this beatitude. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. And if you remember, we showed a really funny video with this one. I can't do the voice. Can you do the? Yeah. So Ron does a great goat voice. And maybe we'll have to put that in our summary next week, because that was just so brilliant. But anyways, you may recall that I mentioned that some translations use a different word instead of righteousness. Do you remember what it was? Justice. Justice. And you may also recall that I shared that according to Emmett Fox, who is a wonderful New Thought teacher, righteousness means in the Bible not merely right conduct, but right thinking on all subjects in every department of life. And that in Old English, righteousness meant right ways and right manners. And that in unity, this word righteousness can be interpreted as right useness of spiritual principles. This kind of coming back to some of us who were here a little bit, yes. And our spiritual principles being our umpar, our omnipresence, our oneness, our mind, prayer, and action, and using them in harmony with spiritual laws. And from a unity perspective, persecution is not only about external suffering, but also about the internal challenges we face when striving to live a spiritually aligned life. It's about the trials encountered on the path of our spiritual growth. So metaphysically, persecution is viewed as an opportunity to deepen our faith and commitment to living a spiritually authentic life, even in the face of opposition or misunderstanding from others. Righteousness, in this context, is understood as living in accordance with divine law, not just in terms of behavior, but as an expression of those divine qualities that are in with us. What are some of the divine qualities that are within us? Love, yes. Wisdom, shout out one if you know. Joy, peace, faith, absolutely all of those divine qualities. Therefore, being persecuted for righteousness' sake could be understood as facing inner challenges or negative thoughts that arise when we strive to live to higher spiritual principles. Higher ground, right? We're reaching higher ground. And it's about the internal struggle and the resistance we might feel from the ego or the lower self when attempting to align with that higher ground. So now let's explore the blessing that is promised in this beatitude. What is the blessing? The kingdom of heaven. Yes, the blessing is that. The kingdom of heaven. And does that sound familiar, this idea of being blessed by the kingdom of heaven in this beatitude journey? Have we heard it before? We have indeed, because if you were here for week 1 of this series, you may recall the first beatitude. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So I think it's interesting that the Beatitudes are bookended with the blessing of the kingdom of heaven. I'm wondering, did Jesus run out of ideas for blessings? Probably not. But from a unity perspective, the first and the last Beatitudes promising the kingdom of heaven serve as a metaphysical framework for spiritual development. The kingdom of heaven is not a place, but a state of consciousness that is aligned with divine principles. And when is it accessible? In the present moment, right here and right now. And so the first Beatitudes invites us to acknowledge our spiritual need, marking the beginning of our growth. And this recognition is a call to those of us yearning for a deeper connection with the divine, and it sets us on a path of spiritual discovery. Then we fast forward to the final beatitude. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And so there's this cyclical structure of the first and the last beatitudes, which underscores a journey that starts and ends with the kingdom of heaven, emphasizing that every step is vital to achieving divine consciousness. It's a transformative process that begins with spiritual poverty, acknowledging that we have a desire to grow closer to that divine presence, and it culminates in the sweet richness of the divine within. And our reality, it's shaped by what? By our beliefs, by our deepest beliefs. And when we are dedicated to our spiritual convictions, even when challenged, we are truly blessed. We live in the kingdom of heaven here and now, and we embrace our divine nature and spiritual potential. Right? Yeah. And, I remember not to say but and, right? And it is paramount to remember that we are celestial spirits navigating a profoundly human odyssey. This journey is rich with a full spectrum of human emotions. And at times, some people may ascend to such heights of spiritual exuberance that they inadvertently overlook our second unity principle, which is what? Yes, it is oneness. And in their earnest pursuit of celestial bliss, they might unintentionally negate or belittle the anguish, the sorrow, the vexation, the bewilderment, the confusion, the pain of others. And in moments of tribulation, rather than offering solace, they might extend a spiritual platitude or sidestep the genuine emotions at play. And this often comes from a place of trepidation, a reluctance to really confront the underlying realities within themselves or others. And what is the unintended consequence of this? Well, it can be a soul left feeling forsaken, silenced, unable to express their authentic self. And it's a poignant reminder that true spiritual maturity involves embracing the full spectrum of our collective humanity, offering a hand to hold, an ear to listen, and a heart to understand. And in doing so, we embody the very essence of oneness, nurturing a space where care, love, and mutual support flourish. So 2 essential spiritual awakenings underlie all great traditions, and they actually both involve oneness. And the first essential awakening is claiming our oneness with what? With God, with Spirit, with the Creator, with the divine, claiming our oneness with that. And that is our true identity, that we are beloved children of God. And the second essential spiritual awakening that is part of oneness is recognizing and having that realization of our oneness with what? With all sentient beings everywhere. Everywhere. And increasingly, this final beatitude is strategically placed after the one last week. And the one last week was about what? Peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So the journey of awakening to oneness, first with the divine and then with all life, illuminates the path of peacemakers. And this path paves with the intention of what? Of harmony, really, right? It stands in stark contrast to the conflict of persecution. Persecution is the antithesis of peacemaking. It is the denial of our shared humanity. Wow. Persecution is the denial of our shared humanity. And it is the rejection of the very concept of oneness that we stand and we say every single week together. However, from a tangible human perspective, it's one thing to understand persecution as a spiritual trial and quite another to endure it. And while many of us have faced injustice in some form or other, we felt that from someone or we felt that, the depth of true persecution, a sustained and targeted attack on one's very being, that's something that not many of us have really faced. Jesus was persecuted by the religious elite of his day who felt threatened by his growing popularity and his critique of their hypocrisy. They challenged his authority, they spread false rumors about him, they bribed one of his followers to betray him, they arrested him for heresy, they beat him, and they turned him over to the Roman governor to have him crucified. But how does this beatitude apply to us today? Well, I don't know about you, but I love to receive blessings, don't you? Don't you love to receive blessings? But most of us would pass if we knew we had to be persecuted first. I don't think many of us would say, oh, pick me, please, I don't mind being persecuted. I will have a blessing at the end of it. Most of us would say, yeah, I'm going to pass on that one. Yet when we decide to follow a spiritual path, we can actually be persecuted in different ways. We can be ridiculed by loved ones who may think we've lost our marbles. They may not understand our desire to follow a different way, a different path from the religion perhaps that we were raised with. And our goal is to remain focused and continue growing in our own God path, focused on our own divine connection, and to remember that our divine connection will guide and lead each of us in different ways. Isn't that exciting? We're going to have different responses to different things because we're not cookie cutters of each other. We each have our own unique way of being, of leading, and of being there for others. And we can take for granted what others have initiated through blood, sweat, and tears, and often their own lives. Think just about the vote for women. Think about other things that people have given their lives for, civil rights. We take for granted, maybe not so much now, the way things are at the moment. But when we speak up, we for, we befriend, or we've refused to condone discrimination of any sort, we may find ourselves on the receiving end of negativity for those who do not share our views. And there's another metaphysical meaning to this beatitude, because the persecutor is often not without, but where? Within. Yes, within. Not someone else saying nasty, horrible, vile things to us, although if you're on social media, that can happen. But us saying these things to ourselves, our inner saboteur of self-persecution, who hides behind the curtains, dagger in hand. Each of us has at least two commentators in our head. We have God, the divine, the creator, the highest and the best, always wanting the good. And we have ego, the persecutor, hurling insults and doubts at us, sometimes falsely building us up while condemning others. I'm better than you, and so I'm going to judge you that way, or you're better than me, and so I'm going to judge myself that way, or all comparison, all those things that go on. But mostly, what does that inner saboteur do? Sounded very catty, didn't it? Cat's claw curtains. Actually, they're just ripping us to shreds. That inner saboteur. As Wayne Dyer said, we can either be a host to God or a hostage to ego, sometimes within the same hour. Our goal is to attune ourselves to the divine voice within, and that's why we gather here on Sundays, to be reminded, especially in the midst of life's challenges and things that are going on, to follow the God voice and silence the ego's whispers. We come together to be authentic with one another, to love and be loved, and to support each other as we navigate this delicate, often confusing, yet profoundly joyous adventure called life. And together, at Unity of Tempe, we evolve, we grow, and we embrace the full spectrum of our human and spiritual experience. And so to anchor this message today, rather than a song, I have a very moving video. It's a short, powerful video that Ron found about persecution that illustrates the power of this beatitude.
Dạ chậm đây mẹ.
His name is Gordon. He's my father. He was a soldier. While he was a prisoner of war, it was hell. He didn't believe there was goodness in the world anymore. And when the war ended, he changed. His faith returned. He dedicated his life to help other people. And on the day he died, he asked me to come and find the person who changed him. What did you say to him?
No. No. No.
What did it say is the best form of communication? Compassion. Compassion is the best form of communication. Very powerful video, and I wish it had been a bit larger on the screen, but it is, and hopefully that was moving. I know every time Ron watches it, he gets very choked up about that. But it seemed a really good one to share today about the blessing that was received by giving that compassion, and then in the persecution receiving that compassion. So as we prepare to draw the curtain on our Blessed series, I encourage you to be here next week for a reflective and a celebratory finale. Together we've traversed the landscape of the Beatitudes, uncovering layers of their timeless wisdom, and each step has offered us insights into the depths of spiritual truths and the heights of divine promise. And next week we honor the path we've walked, the growth we've experienced, and the community that we share. And your presence here is a part of this journey. I'd love to hear from you. If anyone's like, I really want to share something about how the Beatitudes have really opened my heart, let me know, because I'll include you next week. So be thinking and let me know today if you can. I want to have a few minutes to say something about how this series has really changed me, or how I've grown in depth, or what I've gained from this series. So be with us next week as we conclude this series. We'll go back over some of the fun things, maybe even have the goat again, and we'll have some, maybe refresh ourselves with some of the videos we've watched along the way, and we'll really reflect on these Beatitudes. You know, it's not a complete series, I feel, unless we go back and look, because when we get to the end, we're like, what was number 5? So we're going to refresh our minds. This has been a powerful series for me, and I just am looking forward to celebrating the conclusion of it next week. Until then, may you be blessed. And so let us say together, I am blessed. One more time. I am blessed. And then Sandra, do us the honors.
I am blessed.
With I am blessed. Yes, indeed. And we remember as we say this together, I am a beloved child of God, here to be an ambassador of good and compassion. And compassion. So now it is time for our financial blessings. We're so grateful that your blessings help us stay here, help us be here on Sundays, help those loved ones, those very loved ones in spirit be with us, those loved ones that have departed be with us, and all of the loved ones that are coming that haven't yet been here today. We're so grateful for new people joining us. We take our blessing to our heart and we enfold it with us, and we say, I am a joyful sharer of my good. I remember that as I give, I receive, and that God is my source. Thank you, Carla. Lovely to have you back from your wonderful trip, wonderful vacation. Thank you, Catherine. We bless these gifts. We bless the giver and the receiver and the stewardship of their use. We bless every single prayer in the prayer box, knowing that it is answered in the highest and best way. We bless the prosperity of every single person here, every single person giving online. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Divine Spirit. And so it is. Amen. So we have some announcements. I want to remind you of our prayer and connect call. We love it when you can join us on Thursdays. We didn't have one this past Thursday because it was July 4th, but we'll be back at 10 a.m. We'd love to have you join us on Thursday. And we're still collecting for Matthew's Crossing. The next intentional collection will be on July 28th, the end of the month. And of course, water. We're getting lots of things about water and inviting us to continue to bring in water. Yes, Joe? Yeah. So anyways, if you bring in water, Joe will work on helping me decide where that goes. Is that okay, Joe? So, yes. Oh, you're important. You are important. I want you to turn to someone and say, you're important. You're important. You matter. Tell them that they matter. You matter, Megan. You matter, Lois. You matter, everyone here. You make a difference. You make a difference. Jason, you make a difference. We're so glad you're here today. Now, and you are loved. And I want you to think about who in your life do you know that really needs to hear this? I mean, most of us need to hear this right now. Who do you know who needs to hear that they are loved, that they are important, that they matter? And if it's like, I'm scared to invite them to come be here, then pray on that and vision them here. And then maybe just say, hey, would you like to come be with me on Sunday? That would be wonderful. Let us say our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. All is well, and we are grateful. Now, I want to ask you, before we close out here, how many places do you go that you hear you're really important? You really matter. You really are loved. You're valued. You make a difference. Sometimes we only hear that here, and so I want you to take that in and know that it's really meant for you. Beloveds online, come be with us in person very soon.